And welcome back to another episode of Double Dunk Podcast. My name is Brenden. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking strictly Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to break down the upcoming Super Bowl rematch on Monday Night Football. Eagles head to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to talk about the current state of the roster, how Jalen Hurts is doing. Whole bunch of good stuff coming for you, Philadelphia Eagles fans. No one else to do it than my man, my friend, Mr. Thomas Petersen. Looking fly, liking the sweater, Thomas, on this fine Friday morning. How we doing?
Fresh haircut, everything ready for the next part of the season.
I'm going from a haircut in a couple hours. I'm very excited to trim off this beard and get a nice little fade going. I'm starting to do the fade haircuts, and I'm starting to like them a lot. You know,
You gotta get the beard off.
No, I'm gonna trim it down. Nice. The beard. I'm looking cavemanish, and my hair is like crazy. You know, covered by the hat right now. But
you don't have any hair, Brenden.
There's hair here. There's hair here. I actually used to rock the long hair look as a kid, like down to like my shoulder.
Oh, like really long. Okay,
like really long.
Try that again.
Oh.
Off-season project.
It would be a winter. It would be a winter thing if I was going to do it because the summer I'm a sweaty guy. You know, like long, greasy, sweaty hair. Can't have that.
Be ready for next season then, or next winter.
That's fair. Yeah, I should definitely plan to do it next winter. How was your bye week? What'd you do? What'd you get up to? How'd you enjoy some Eagles free football? Tell me what you've been up to last couple weeks.
So as you know, we're buying a house. So I'm doing nothing but attending meetings and getting offers because I'm going to start doing some renovation of the house as soon as we get it. So I'm getting like multiple offers on a shit ton of grown up stuff. Budgeting, all this. I had a terrible bye week. I can't wait for some actual to get all these things to kind of settled in, start working on things instead of planning it. You know, I hate planning stuff. I like doing stuff. You know?
What's the main renovation you're looking to do?
So we're gonna tear up all the floors and then do floor heating and then put a new like oak parquet floor. And then we're going to change the kitchen. We're going to tear down one massive wall. We're going to have to build another like half wall as well. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be putting in floor heating and then, getting those pipes down in like underneath the floor.
Big boy stuff, grown man stuff.
Yeah, I have like all this, the whole concrete thing, and actually putting down the floor. I have tons of guidance from family members. I don't know. I do not know how to do all that, so I'm just gonna be the working power, and they'll tell me what to do, and I pay for it.
I am like the least handyman human being on the world. Like, I'd probably, if I had a flat tire right now in the middle of the street, I don't even know if I could fix it. I can't do any. I'm useless when I can tell you what coverage the Kansas City Chiefs are going to run against the Eagles on the weekend, but I have no idea how to fix a tire. I
think it's just something you're going to learn along the way. You think?
It's 28 years, Thomas. Nothing's changed. I've been driving for over 12 years.
How many flat tires have you had, though?
I've never been in that situation. So
exactly, that's where you learn it.
That's a good point. Did you watch any football week 10 on Sunday?
I had Red Zone on. It was nice. It was a cozy Sunday, to be honest. We were down a little bit with some gastroenteritis last week as well. Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
So that was I mean, Sunday was kind of a tipping point. We started to feel better. We can get some actual food, and then had some snacks and watching football. So that was good.
Your Falcons, man.
Oh my God! Why is Arthur Smith still employed? How is that man still employed in the NFL? Probably for as much as we like to criticize Eagles when they're not doing well offensively, like Arthur Smith is probably the least competent offensive play caller in the NFL. Like I was going over with my friend, like what if the Falcons had Lamar Jackson? Like they were kind of they're quick to go out of the sweepstakes on him.
Yeah.
I don't even think the Falcons would be good with Lamar Jackson because they'll still have Arthur Smith there.
He's got to go, man. I took the Arizona Cardinals as like my gold pick on weekend wagers. 6-0 against the spread in the last 6 picks on weekend wagers. So if you're not listening to that, what are you doing? I'm making your money here. But I was all over the Cardinals because I think the Falcons are so fraudulent right now, Thomas. And you're right, Arthur Smith has been an absolute mess there. One of my biggest takeaways from watching other teams play and kind of zooming out and not having Eagles football was how bad teams are in short yardage, and just how much of like a benefit the brotherly shove, tush push. I actually like the push tush instead of tush push a little bit better than brotherly
brotherly shove.
Brotherly shove.
I think it's tush push. You know?
I like the push tush, push tush or brotherly shove. But yeah, I think it was kind of eye opening. Like I think the Chargers and Lions game there was like 10 4th and 1 or like what you need 1 yard plays and like then none of them could get it. It's just it was kind of alarming just how teams struggle in short yardage. It's interesting.
Yeah, and also it's I guess when other teams are doing it, you might as well just call it a QB sneak because they don't like they don't really do it. They don't really push. It looks weird when the teams are doing it. You can clearly see they suck at it.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest takeaways. A lot of the NFC teams won, like the Cowboys fucking bangs the New York Giants.
I mean, the Giants should not even be allowed on television anymore.
The 49ers won, so like the Eagles hadn't really gained any ground. The NFC, the Lions won as well, so that was kind of disappointing. And on the Kansas City Chiefs side, you had like everyone lose. Like the Bengals lost, the Ravens lost, so it was like different for both number 1 seeds on each side. All right, Thomas, let's do this. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles heading to Arrowhead to play on take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's kind of discuss first off just kind of where the Eagles are depth chart wise and how the injuries are playing out. So yesterday at practice, so just heads up, we're recording this on Friday morning, so we still don't have Friday's injury report. Just a reminder, it's kind of a day behind, right? So they're on Monday Night Football. So Friday's injury report will be the second one, and then Saturday's injury report will be when we figure out who's playing, who's not, who's ruled out, who's not. But, Thomas, the injury report looks pretty darn good right now.
Yeah, I was about to say, it doesn't really matter when we're reporting this because nothing's going to change. Everybody's playing except for Dallas Goedert. Yep, what we'll see basically is who gets activated off of IR. So we have Cam Jerkins and Justin Evans as the big Bradley Roby, I believe. No, he's still on the active roster. He was not on IR. So
he was.
All of those guys are expected to go as well. There's not going to be any real probably surprises there. Cam Jerkins is taking first team reps this week. And we have Bradley Roby that obviously, like I said, they didn't put him on IR so they could keep playing. They could play him this week. Justin Evans is practicing as well. Good sign for him to return to the lineup here. So all in all, it's looking up for everybody, and obviously Dallas Goedert, who none of us expect. The thing we'll see is whether or not he gets placed on IR or they're going to try to ride it out. I think they're going to place him on IR, but that's just a hunch.
Yeah, so they need to. If Justin Evans wants to play, they need to open a roster spot for him to play because do they have an open because they put Nicole Bedin on IR, right?
Yeah, they put Nicole Bedin on IR. They also have Josiah Scott, who is obviously expected to get cut as soon as
they could cut him. Yep.
Yeah, as soon as they're going to get Justin Evans back.
So they realistically don't have to place Dallas Goedert on IR then because you'd be the 1-for-1 swap Nicole Bedin for Justin Evans, right? And then they could cut Josiah Scott if they need to make any more roster moves. So it's funny. It feels like if Dallas Goedert was to be placed on IR, it would have been done by now. Now they can have up until the weekend to do so. Like they don't have to make any rash decisions right now. So it's going to be interesting because if he's not placed on IR, then you could realistically have him back for the Dallas Cowboys game, which is in 3 weeks. If he is placed on IR, he will miss that game, and then the earliest he can return is against the Seattle Seahawks.
Yep, correct.
So there's kind of a lot of roster shuffling that Howie has to keep in mind and some decisions he has to make. Let's talk about how these injuries and IR replacements are going to affect the depth chart. Nicole Bedin placed on IR, unfortunately going to miss another 4 games. Just a very kind of a disappointing sophomore season for the kid. Play-wise and injury-wise, like I've had to take over the last couple of weeks that I think he's probably the worst linebacker not on the roster, but at the starting. I would play Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham more snaps, and now they're kind of forced to do that with Nicole Bedin going on IR. So do you expect just Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow to play the 2 linebacker spots as starters?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, they obviously very much so deserve it. They also have Sean Desai has an absurd amount of confidence in Zach Cunningham. Also, a little bit to the point where it gets a little bit absurd. in that he was at the end of the Cowboys game, he was man to man against one of the speediest slot receivers on the Cowboys roster. And it's like you're having Zach Cunningham on the field in a situation like that, having him lined up. I think it was Kevontae Turpin he was lined up against. And you're just expecting disaster at that point. But I mean, that's the amount of confidence they have on him. Sean Desai obviously thinks that the defense is better when Zach Cunningham is on the field, and sometimes that creates mismatches. Yeah, but I mean, he would much rather have Zach on the field than have someone else on the field. And obviously, like, to be honest, that drive where you remember the drive where Ferguson catches the ball, he's just short of the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
That drive was shut down completely by Zach Cunningham. He had that awesome tackle that didn't gain anything. Where he was flowing very, very well with the entire play. He had a pass breakup in the end zone to Jerry Ferguson right before that. And then he had a pressure on Dak Prescott, got him out the pocket. That's where Dak Prescott got flipped over. Darius Slay is the one getting the credit of that play, but the only reason that Dak Prescott isn't flying into the end zone off of that play is because Zach Cunningham destroys him right in the rib cage as he's midair.
Mm-hmm.
So he's making a big difference when he's on the field. Morrow a little bit more up and down, but he's shown quality play. I think for both of them, it's in coverage where you're suffering a little bit.
Yeah, like Zach Cunningham, I think has exceeded expectations. Nicholas Morrow has exceeded expectations. You're right with Zach Cunningham coverage. You don't want him kind of running back. You want him going downhill a little bit. But it's crazy to think like Zach Cunningham, Nicholas Morrow, like Bradley Roby were not even on the roster in like August. Like and these guys are making key contributions right now. So it's pretty impressive just Howie Roseman just continues to kind of slot guys in there.
I was about to say the Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh of the defense.
Yeah, exactly. It just transition over to linebacker. Some more kind of personnel that I'm intrigued about is on the back end of the secondary. So Sidney Brown has played over the last 3 weeks a lot more snaps now, and against the Miami Dolphins he played 94% of snaps in that game. It's more of just because they didn't have other bodies. Reed Blankenship was out that game, Justin Evans was out that game, so they really just had no one else to play. But that's a lot of snaps for a rookie for rookie safety. Then the last 2 games he's played a combined of 43% of the snaps, 56% in week 8, 33% in week 9 against the Cowboys. I'm going to be interested to see how they use him going forward. I think they should really use him more on early downs, get him running downhill more. That's where he's bread and butter. That's where Sidney Brown's at his best at, when he's going downhill, forcing plays, attacking the ball. I still think he's below average in coverage right now. He's still a rookie. That's something that was part of his game that wasn't going to snap right out the gate. But the snaps have come down, like 46, like I said, in week 8, 33% in week 9. So his kind of play over the next half of the season is really what I'm going to be keyed on the defense. And they're going to kind of need him, right? Like they don't have a full answer at slot corner right now. Where do you think they should go if Bradley Roby is healthy? Do you think he should play like the 80 to 90% of the snaps there? Do you think they should mix in Sidney Brown? How do you think they should handle the slot corner position going forward?
I think Bradley Roby probably will be the guy. What I think it's more important is continuity more than mixing it up and getting different bodies in there. I think we've gotten to a point where we've had so many different variations in the secondary, and it's gotten borderline absurd.
That and Thomas, we need continuity here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't really matter. Having Sidney Brown on the field right now. Right now, you just want to bolster the best secondary, and Sidney Brown has not cut it when he's been on the field. Same goes with Eli Ricks when he's been the slot cornerback. So we'll see when we get. It's not like we got a ton of snaps for Bradley Roby before he got injured, but just the limited things that he did show. I think was intriguing. Honestly, I think Justin Evans is probably the best guy returning and the most qualified guy to be on the field of all of the players we've been. And that's after we trashed him the first 2 weeks of the season where he played. And it turns out that he was actually one of the better players in a struggling secondary.
Yeah, what was interesting about Justin Evans is just he was around the ball Like he had two
Yeah.
forced fumbles. He had a couple fumble recoveries. He had some pass breakups. Like he was getting his hands on the ball and he was causing turnovers. He was causing chaos. So I think that part of the defense, like that, the Eagles haven't been able to take away the football lately. Like they got a ton early on when Justin Evans was healthy, and it's not. I don't think there's like a huge correlation to Evans leaving and the turnovers in the giveaway, turnovers going away. But there's got to be something to it, and I think that's what kind of he can help you bring. He's veteran. He knows defenses. So you're right. I think an underrated part of the injury report is just Justin Evans coming back, and it was kind of an under. We never really talked. It was almost like a lot of Eagles fans forgot Justin Evans was even on the roster a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. He went away early, and he's been away for a while now, so it's yeah. But it honestly, just in taking, like, if you want to take PFF for a stat to create these kind of things here, the entire Eagles secondary has sucked big time. Like, none of them are in the top 100 except for Darius Slay and Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship actually,
sixth highest grade safety right now in the NFL.
he's the sixth. He's the 10th highest graded among all cornerbacks and safeties. Like, of all secondary players, he's the 10th highest graded. Everyone else.
What do you think
suck.
about that? What do you think about Reed Blankenship being that high? Like, I think
that's so bad. It's just as bad as trying to hide all the sacks that Lane Johnson is giving up. Like, week after week, we see Lane Johnson give up sacks, and PFF find a way to say, "Oh no, they slid a little bit to the left, and he should have gotten a little bit of help from Suapeta. We'll put it on Suapeta." Like, PFF they have such an agenda when it comes to Lane Johnson that I'm actually sick about it. And he finally got one officially put on him last week against the Cowboys. So we're done with that. We can officially end the streak. They can start crediting Lane appropriately. I think that was bullshit. That's where you see the subjectivity come into PFF, because you can obviously see it on tape that he's given up a shit ton of pressure. So like, stop kidding people. The same with Reed Blankenship. He got torched in coverage several times against the Cowboys. Like, nobody had any idea what they were doing against the Cowboys. Everybody was running wide open all the time. And yeah, I agree with you in that Reed Blankenship that high is not really appropriate. Josh Jobe, Eli Ricks, James Bradbury, Sidney Brown are all 150 or lower among 250 qualifying secondary players.
Yeah,
I think that is saying something.
Yeah, I think Reed Blankenship has been one of the most, probably the most consistent Eagles secondary player this year, and he's been solid. But sixth highest in the league, it's like he's a 10th highest secondary. I think we're reaching a little bit there. Yeah, like you're right. In that Washington game, he did not play well. I thought he played well in the first half of the Dallas game, and he made a couple plays. Like, of course, he was one in coverage on Luke Schoonmaker. You could kind of credit him there for holding down the front of the end zone and making sure he doesn't get in. But like on that exact same play, you had Brenden Cooks wide open. Like, there was a bunch of coverage busts that the Cowboys actually didn't kind of take advantage. And when we get to the Eagles Chiefs preview, I think there's a lot of correlation between what the Cowboys did and what the Chiefs are probably going to do. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Couple more kind of Eagles secondary stuff. Kevin Byard. Any worry with Byard? Because he has not been good since he's been with the Eagles. He's been targeted 6 times for 6 catches for over 100 yards. The Cowboys really focused on Kevin Byard. We talked about that in the Cowboys recap episode. And the second watch, I don't know if you kind of caught down the second watch, but it also caught my eye. Like, they really wanted Kevin Byard over the middle of the field. And we're probably going to see similar stuff from Kansas City. Kevin Byard hasn't touched the football yet this year, Thomas. No passes defended, no interceptions. He doesn't have a forced. I think he has 1 fumble recovery. That's the only time he's touched the football. No forced fumbles. I'm not in panic mode over Kevin Byard yet. It's been 2 games. He has never been outside of Tennessee, right? So he's been Mike Vrabel, and that Titans defense is what he knows. Yeah. And so give him time. But this is a very important player for the Eagles down the stretch.
Yeah, and we can probably hang our hat on that. New team, new city, new scheme, new language, new players that he has to play with, and that the bye week was good for him in getting all the things, like looking back on the past 2 games here, learning from it and adapting, having a full week of practice here going into the KC game, and really hoping that that's the case, because when he went up against Jay Ferguson, he looked like the worst player on defense. Like, he didn't even try to cover him.
No,
it was 2 yards of separation instantly. And then Jake had a catch and had 51 yards on 2 catches. So now he's going up against Travis Kelce. So if Jarek Ferguson was a problem, yeah, we're in for a long day if Kevin hasn't learned anything over a bye
Yeah,
week.
I don't think they're gonna do one-on-one Byron on Kelsey. Like I think there's gonna find other ways to take him away. But you're right. Like if they end up in that situation, like I don't have the utmost confidence right now that Kevin Byron can kind of win that battle, and I don't think any Eagles fan should. One more thing on the defense. Something that caught my eye when I was kind of going through snap totals and just kind of what's going on and who's played for the Eagles defense is how much Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat are playing right now. They are the two like MVPs of this team right now, arguably. Like Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick. I have no idea where this Eagles team would be without Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat first, like maybe above Hassan Reddick. He's been so damn good, and then Hassan Reddick next. But they have played over 80% of snap in back-to-back games. Now, a lot of that could be detailed to the Cowboys in Washington were driving down the field late, and they wanted their best passers on the field. But even then, like Josh Sweat has I think played about 58% of snaps last year, something around those lines. He's on pace for like his highest snap percentage ever. He's not a guy that's like been a full-time defensive end rotation. Hassan Reddick now is also on pace to play the most snaps he's ever played. So I think like Nolan Smith and these Brandon Graham, these kind of depth chart edge guys really, really have to kind of take the load off Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat down the stretch because these guys are going to get gassed. And we saw how good they are late in games. But that's going to come back down to earth a little bit if they keep playing these many snaps.
Yeah, I was going through a little bit of tape of Hassan Reddick from week 1, week 2 up until week 8, week 9, and man, he just looks like a completely different player. Like his gear is it doesn't look like the same player. His moves are working almost every game that he's playing at this point. Look very it didn't look comfortable in the first 2 weeks, although he still did get a ton of pressure against the Patriots. He wasn't credited with any, but he won a lot of his matchups there as well. But he just looks like a much more confident player now. And I think Hassan is a volume player. Like I think he gets better and better the more he plays. We saw it in the mic'd up version of him last week when he got his first sack. Like he was so relieved because he's like the first one is always the hardest. And I really think when he starts getting in the groove in a game, he gets a sack. He almost always follows it up with some kind of big play afterwards as well. Against the Dolphins, it wasn't necessarily a sack. He just kept making plays and destroying the running game of the Dolphins. So I think Hassan is a guy that they really want to have on the field because he just does good things whenever he gets in a groove.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100% agree. Anything else on the defense, like just depth chart issues, who's playing, who's not, anything like that before we move on?
James Bradbury and Darius Slay. No, Darius Slay has been fine. James Bradbury needs to step up. He's looking like an old washed cornerback.
Yeah, and he's going to be very important in this game because we'll talk about what the matchups look like. But I think James Bradbury is going to be called upon a lot, especially in the Kansas City Chiefs game. Yeah. I think Darius Slay's been maybe a little bit too like pushed on in the media and Eagles fans.
Yeah, I think he's been better than he's been targeted for.
Exactly. Yeah,
he hasn't been his usual elite self. Not a top 10 corner at this point right now, but I mean he's playing a lot better than I think what
especially the last couple of weeks. Yeah. I thought against the Cowboys played really well. The Dolphins game he played really well. So the last couple games, I think he's really stepped it up. We were a little critical of him, like I think for the first 4 or 5 games, and I think he's kind of bounced back nicely. And they're going to need him. They're going to need him healthy. They're going to need him to play really well because he's like their most talented secondary player right now. It's not all sunshine and rainbows on the back end of the Eagles defense.
It's an aging group, man. It's an aging group.
On the offensive side of the ball, so the big injury is, of course, Dallas Goedert, broken forearm, which sucks. Big takeaway from rewatching the Eagles all 22 is holy fuck, Dallas Goedert was good in that football game. And they're going to have to replace him and his production. Now, this is not new. They did this last year. Dallas Goedert had an IR stint last year. He missed 4 games. So they lived through it and they were able to kind of succeed and continue their offensive success on that side of the ball. So how would you replace Dallas Goedert in the rotation? Is there a single guy you want to see more from? Do they do more like just 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver looks? How do you think they replace Dallas Goedert?
I think we maybe actually do get to see a little bit of Grant Calcaterra and Albert rotating a little bit more with the offense, just because the Eagles really like to go with tight ends a lot of the time. But I think they definitely have the personnel on offense in terms of the wide receivers. Like the addition of Julio Jones, I think really becomes key in a point like this because you're replacing a big target with another big target, and I think Julio has been a good addition and a good depth piece to have on the field. If you want to do a lot more AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Zacchaeus on the field, like these guys are going to have to be rotating a little bit once in a while throughout the game. I think Julio Jones is a natural replacement if you want to keep having, you know, a viable pass catcher on the field while also maintaining some size. But yeah, hopefully throughout these next 4 games, let's say that is what Dallas is going to be, Dallas Goddard is going to be missing here. That we actually do get to see them a little bit more, like some value out of the Albedo trade, and see him like he's the reason they traded for him that game, the preseason, where Albert had like 15 catches or something like the bonkers thing like that,
Yeah,
like
he had
10
over
catches
100
for
receiving
150
yards.
yards. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. This is where you'd like to see that come into fruition, where you actually get him as a pass catcher out in space.
Yeah, I hope we see some. I'm going to give a shot. Ogwekambom. Is that right? I remember. Ogwekambom. Yeah, I remember when they traded for him. I was like watching like
you
10
practice that.
Yeah, I'm practicing.
So hard.
I've already lost it. But yeah, I would like to see him kind of get some run. Grant, you brought up Ken Alcantara. He's going to be back from the concussion. It looks like he was a full participant in practice, so they're going to get him back, which is important. They love Jack Stoll in the building. Of course, we know that. So we'll see. We'll see how it kind of goes. I really would like to see them kind of use Julio Jones more and kind of almost like a tight end role, and not maybe like blocking, but as a receiver wise, and get him open through the middle of the field, get him kind of matched up on some linebackers, and see how that kind of works. So I'm assuming they'll be all hands on deck to replace Dallas Goedert. One more injury before we get to Jalen Hurts injury. One more other injury on the offensive side of the ball that is coming. There's good news for the Eagles is Cam Jurgens is back fully practicing, and it looks like he's going to start at right guard.
Yeah, that's a big one.
The run game has been worse with Cam Jurgens when he's been off the field. So with Cam Jurgens, they are first in success rate, and they've had 661 yards without Cam Jurgens. So that was for 4 games. Without Cam Jurgens in 5 games, they're 16th success rate and 416 yards. So the run game has really kind of taken a hit when Cam Jurgens has went out. Now, they both correlate to Jalen Hurts' knee injury as well. So that is definitely something to do with it. It's not just Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, a lot of valuable variables in that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's part of it. But Suapeta has not been good in the run game. So, and you probably notice it on tape. It's pretty open that he struggled in that part of his game. So, just getting Cam Jurgens back should open up some holes and kind of get the Eagles' run game going again.
Yeah, I think Cam was doing well before he got injured. He was settling into his role. So, yeah, I'd like to see him get back and follow that same trend.
All right, let's talk Jalen Hurts, Thomas. So the big news of the week, and I guess what everyone was waiting for, was Jalen Hurts' knee. How is Jalen Hurts' knee doing? He said the bye. So he spoke to the media yesterday. He said the bye week came at a great time. He's not wearing a knee brace right now.
The most useful thing that Jalen Hurts has said in the press conference this year.
Literally, he smiled too, Thomas. You see that? He had a big smile for the first time. Guy never smiles, never really talks during press conferences. So bye week did wonders for the kid, maybe his mental health and his physical health. He said he's not wearing a knee brace during practice. He might wear one during a game. That is still up in the air. Where are you with Jalen Hurts' health right now? And are you confident in it? Like, what's your worry, I guess, meter for Jalen Hurts' knee?
Yeah, I want to see him play a game before I buy too much of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I want to see him move around, because visually we talked about this since week 2 that he looked terrible. He's been running okay, all things considered, but like he's limping around. He doesn't look as agile as usually. You talked about Lamar Jackson hobbling around a little bit yesterday. I mean, that's what we've been seeing from Jalen Hurts throughout the entire season. Now, obviously, it hasn't hindered his mobility in the pocket, and he's been able to pick up some key first downs here and there. And the brotherly push is still unmatched. So, I mean, it's not something that we've seen the many effects of, but we also know that he's a stubborn son of a bitch. So it'll be great to see him actually on the field see how he looks. But yeah, just the fact that it hasn't gotten worse after he took that helmet straight to the knee from DeMarcus Lawrence it's just good things. We didn't get any aggravating news over the bye week that by the way, we did an MRI on Jalen Hurts and now listen to that. So Yeah,
Yeah,
just that
agreed.
thing is great to know.
It's really crazy how well, it's not crazy. Jalen Hurts' knee injury, of course, affected this, but the difference between how effective the Eagles' quarterback run game was last year to this year, and how they're still able to put up offensive numbers. So last year, design runs, they had 0.18 EPA per rush as quarterback design runs. This year, it's negative 0.13. So
He's given himself up,
yeah,
and they're calling QB runs in the most awkward times throughout
yeah,
8 games, and they finally stopped it in the Cowboys game, also a little bit in the Washington game. But up until that point, we had 7 games of just mistimed QB draws. It was set up for failure, no matter how his knee was.
yeah, you're right. And I think the EPA per rush quarterback design was like really bad for the first few weeks. Like even when he was healthy, it still wasn't there, right? Like in the first 2 weeks, it wasn't clicking. So on scrambles as well, have been down. So Jalen Hurts last year, he had 0.63 EPA per scramble last year. Insane. Like that was such an underrated part of the offense was Jalen Hurts taking off. This year it's still up there. It's 0.46, but still a little bit of a drop. 0.63 is just unheard of, and that's not going to continue year to year. Like you can't keep up that pace. So that's a little bit down. And then design rushes. So just transitioning over to success rate, 51.5% success rate last year on design runs, 31% this year. So that's down. And then scrambles is actually the success rate on scrambles is better this year, but it's that part of the offense has not been there. And last year, and again in the Super Bowl, the design runs were everything. Like the quarterback draws and Jalen Hurts as a runner really elevated the team in the Super Bowl. So we'll see how that kind of transitions. We'll talk about that in a bit, but let's talk more zoomed out Jalen Hurts here, how he's looked throughout the season. If you were to, who is the better quarterback right now? 2023 Jalen Hurts or 2022 Jalen Hurts? You don't have
It's a
to give
good
a full
question
answer.
because I
Yeah,
think
it's different. They're
he's
different players a little
yeah,
bit.
they're different players. I mean,
Mhm.
he's a much better pocket quarterback
Yeah,
this year than he has ever been in his career. He is. I wanted to know. I don't know if you have the stat. I haven't looked it up, but I wanted to see what his EPA as a passer has been this year compared
I
to other years.
I got it all. I actually have all the stats here. I did some
Hit
digging
me.
last night. So, last year as a pocket passer, Jalen Hurts 0.121 EPA, which was seventh in the NFL. So this is per drop back. This takes away scrambles. This takes away running. So this is just him throwing the football. So he was seventh last year, 0.121 drop back EPA. This year it's 0.176 per drop
But there you
back.
go.
That is fourth in the NFL. Success rate is also up. He was 45.7 drop back success rate last year, which ranks 16th. He's 48.9%, which is ninth. Now, Jalen Hurts' success rate don't really mesh well because a lot of the Eagles' success in the passing game is those explosive plays, those deep shots. And that's why the EPA is so high and the success rate is low. Success rate and Jalen Hurts are just never going to be on the same page, which is fine. As long as the EPA is there, we're good to go. So he's way better as a pocket passer this year. A couple more stats. When he's blitzed last year, he was 27th in EPA. This year, 9th. So that's also up. The air yards are up. He's 8.7 air yards in the NFL, which is fifth this year. Big one that I really like to see when defenses are on an expected pass play. So there's a 70% chance that a pass defense is going to occur. Jalen Hurts is a 0.3 EPA, first in the NFL, Thomas.
Yeah.
That shows that he is reading the defense as well. When he knows a pass defense is coming his way, he's able to read it and be efficient. That's the stat that I really like to see. He is reading defenses better. So I personally think that he's a better pocket passer this year. He's more efficient throwing the ball. The stats back it up. The eye test also backs it up. Like you could tell he's seeing the field better. The zip on his ball is better. Like that was a big takeaway from the last 2 games. Is like it almost looks like he hit the weight room midway through the year and was able to like his upper body strength, like the ball's coming out better. So
The one thing I will do say though, and also why I kind of hesitate a little bit on it, is that he's also gone from last year. He had a turnover through play percentage of 3.2 all throughout the entire season, and this year he's all the way up And he's around 3.2 this year, which is among the most in the league.
I
And
think
last
a
year he
lot.
was 1.8%. Like he was protecting the ball among the best of the best last season. But this year
Yeah,
he's turning the ball over at a rate that is much more alarming than it was
a
last year.
lot of quarterbacks are up though this year. Like it's not just Jalen Hurts. A lot of quarterbacks are putting the ball more in harm's way this year. They have to because the way defenses are playing the NFL, like the way defenses are kind of contracting everything, making sure bodies aren't going away.
I don't know about that. I mean,
It's
Jalen
true.
Hurts,
No, the numbers it actually
he's
backs it up. Like,
effectively almost lost them and did lose them the game against the Jets, but he almost lost them several games due to turnovers this year.
But more that's the fumbles from the beginning of the year because turnover, like the interceptable passes rate are sort of similar. So last year was 2.48%. Right now it's at 2.96% interceptable throws, which is it's up, but it's not as up. Like the turnover worthy plays, like the fumble against the Patriots, right? That's going to be up there. That was huge. Like there's a lot of like just like the throwing aspect of it I think is not as bad as other quarterbacks are in the NFL. You are right; the turnovers are up, but he hasn't done that over the last 2 weeks. He hasn't had a
No,
turnover.
exactly. That's also
Yeah, we're
where
seeing
I think the recency
progression.
bias also shows up a little bit there because it's been like against Dallas and Washington, he's been the best he's been all season. But other than that, he's had several games with multiple turnovers. Like, he had 3 against the Jets, he had 2 against Tampa Bay, and then if you count his fumbles in as well, like obviously it looks worse. But yeah, it's it's gotten better, and that's a really good thing. I think that's the most impressive thing because as he progressively has gotten more hurt, he's become a better player, which is weird. But yeah,
It's really cool to see him like progress even more this year. Like just as a player, like he's done every single year of his entire NFL, like not even NFL career, like dating back to college. So it's if you actually look at the
I test well, like he is making bigger throws, like
yep.
he's being more accurate with the ball.
That throw to Devontae Smith in the Cowboys game, not the one to the end zone. The all 22 angle of that zip one, where I think Fran Duffy actually did a great breakdown of it on the Eagles Twitter account. I saw it the next day when I went to do all 22 review as well. Like the Cowboys, that was kind of disguised coverage, and Jalen Hurts read it perfectly. And that zip to Devontae Smith on that ball was really really impressive. So yeah, like he looks so much, like, he just looks better as a pocket passer. The eyes test matches it, the numbers match it. So really cool to see. It's funny actually, Thomas. There's an EPA graph. I don't have it in front of me, but if you look at like his 2021 EPA to 2023 EPA, it's just like a nice like just line up. Like you can just
Yeah,
he's progressing better, and it's what you like to see.
but
And
also
just
just in terms of like last year, the running game was more more consistent and
mhm.
a much more a vital part of the offense last year. Like we talked about for a lot of last year. Remember that how they were struggling on offense, so they went a little bit more to the running game to kind of save it, as they did in 2021. Whereas this year their rushing attack has been not great
Mhm.
for a while. Like they started off hot to begin the season, but it's just been evaporating with some. I don't know if it's the right guard injuries, if it's the lack of threat from Jalen Hurts running, or what it is, but regardless, it's just impressive that they keep winning despite so many things,
Yeah.
despite Jalen Hurts' injury, despite the running game not working out well, despite injuries to the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like just him having to be a passer and they're winning football games that way, when the entire world and the entire Twitter world was make Jalen Hurts throw. That's all we've fucking heard over the last 2 years. And it's happening now. And the Eagles are able to still successfully win football games. All
Yeah,
right. We are
now it's why does Jalen Hurts look so weird when he runs?
exactly. Yeah. There's a whole nother excuse bag that people are throwing at us. So
Yeah.
we're going to get into Eagles Chiefs preview. Before I do that, I have to let you know about a couple of sponsors to the Double Doing Podcast. The Double Doing Podcast is sponsored by Sweat Tailor. Sweat Tailor is a casual clothing brand for men that carries everything a man could want in his closet. From hoodies to joggers to polos and jeans, Sweat Tailor has you covered in every possible way. I'm really starting to love the lightweight sweat hoodies that are perfect for fall and winter weather. They come in an assortment of different colors, and they will fit any clothing style that you are looking for. Use code BDEEGST, BDEEGST for 25% off everything at sweattailor.com. Another sponsor of the Doubling Podcast is Manscaped. Manscaped has introduced the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, featuring a new cutting-edge design, next-generation dual skin-safe blade heads for different shaves. It's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. Every man knows how scary it can get when you're looking for a close shave below the waist. That's why I trust Manscaped for all my sensitive areas. Get 20% off and free shipping. You can go double doink at manscaped.com. Again, that's 20% off and free shipping. You can go double doink at manscaped.com. All right, Thomas, finally time to break down this football game. Eagles head to Arrowhead to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Monday Night Football. Can't get any better than this, Thomas. Juiciest matchup in the world. Taylor Swift's going to be there. Taylor Swift's parents are going to be there. Are you excited? For the audio listeners, Thomas has had enough. He has left the room. He is not a Taylor Swift guy. He is off board.
The only Swift I want to see is DeAndre rushing for 150 yards and a couple scores.
Okay, man, that Travis Kelce Taylor Swift video in Argentina was pretty cute. I don't know if you saw that when she ran.
I did not see it, Brenden.
You did not
I don't give a shit about it. I don't want to see it. I don't like Taylor Swift's music. I don't like the fact that I can't watch a football game with the Chiefs and not watch Taylor Swift 45 times.
Get used to it, buddy. There's going to be a lot of Taylor Swift on Monday Night Football.
I know. But even though I have to get it shoved down my throat.
Oh, get ready, dude.
I wanna be able to express my displeasure with this whole trend, and with the NFL acting like a player hasn't been dating somebody famous. I'll be mad in my corner. I'll be the old mad guy yelling at clouds, and I'll try to watch football.
There is going to be a lot of Eagles fans complaining on Twitter, probably me complaining watching the game, but unfortunately, buckle up because this is going to be a big Swift and Kelce game. I like the Monday Football, like they do the pregame show. It's going to be straight Travis, straight Jason, and straight Taylor Swift. They're not even. I don't even know if Jalen Hurts is going to have 1 second of screen time on that Monday Night Football preview show.
Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts might as well not exist in this.
Exactly. Game. Yeah. It's the Kelce Bowl. It's the Swift Bowl. Okay, so I discussed at the top of the show that I went back and watched the Super Bowl tape. I don't know if you've done so recently, but is there anything like kind of lingering on your mind that you think the Eagles can take away from the Super Bowl? We'll get into a little bit more X's and O's style of it, but what did you like? What from the Super Bowl do you think that they can fix, I guess, or use to their advantage?
Don't play vanilla basic coverage.
Yeah.
Like try
don't
to
go to the Gannon for calling the shot.
I think Sean Desai just needs to look at that tape and then just go, we're throwing all that out. We'll do something different. I don't know what it is. It might not work, but the default sucked. So let's do something else. It's I don't have anything for the offense. Rock them. Hurts maybe don't cost one turnover, but I mean, what are we talking about here? We're talking about an offense that can't cause one turnover throughout a game, or it'll cost them their lifetime because Chiefs will score all the time. Come on, that's not going to happen. The Chiefs defense has been magnificent this year, and the Chiefs defense is the reason they're still competing this year. Their offense hasn't passed the eye test. I don't know what their stats are saying. All I know is that Patrick Mahomes has looked off. Their skill receiver, their skill position players, not named Travis Kelce, has been off. I know there are people who are even, talking about the Travis Kelce decline. He has a game here and there where he bursts out, but other than that, he's kind of invisible. And I don't know if I agree with that. I still think Travis Kelce is a heck of a player, but I mean, other than that, it's the Chiefs' offense will probably have its way because it's Andy Reid. He knows exactly how to destroy shit defenses and bad secondaries. So I'm not expecting really anything different from the Eagles defense in this game. I think they're going to get absolutely torched. I think the Eagles are going to absolutely torch the Chiefs defense. And
expecting a very similar game then from the Super Bowl.
Basically. Yeah. I think it's going to be somewhat of the same. And I'm mentally preparing, and I'll put my silver paper my silver paper hat on here. I'm expecting hundreds of thousands of Taylor Swift fans who've just been watching her on her world tour of wherever the fuck she's been to be watching this game. The NFL thinks there's a massive revenue here of getting a lot more fans in. They'll make it look good for the Kansas City Chiefs. I
You
hate
expecting
to
some
say it.
referee stuff
I'm
already?
expecting
Like,
some bullshit in this game.
yeah.
Like that is exactly what I'm expecting. Because the NFL is a money business. They know exactly how much revenue they can make off of Taylor Swift. Otherwise, they would never show her in games. They're only doing that because whenever they're showing her on screen, their view cycle goes all the way up. They're just looking at the data. They're looking at money, and they don't give a shit about the Eagles or competitive nature of this game. And I think both offenses are going to go at it, and there's going to be some kind of shady defensive pass interference, roughing the passer call, something like that, that's going to make this a field goal game. Exactly like the Super Bowl.
Well, I would not like to see the same game script as the Super Bowl. I really hope it's not the case.
Would you rather
Um,
would you rather roll the dice and then go like extremely like go radical blitz heavy if it's going to cost you, or would you rather try to do the same and then expect the same result?
I the thing is like when I went back and watched the Super Bowl, like it almost looked like the thing with the like Jonathan Gannon had a bad game in that Super Bowl. Like, don't get me wrong, but he did mix some stuff up. Like they tried blitzing, they tried cover one, they tried cover two, they tried cover six, they tried every single thing in the book. The problem is Andy Reid and the Chiefs offensive coaching staff did such a good job of preparing Patrick Mahomes to know what was in front of him that they carved up everything. Like Eagles didn't do a good job of disguising what was coming their way, but they did try different stuff. That was like the Eagles didn't run a specific coverage all game and sit back. Like they got when Patrick Mahomes was blitzed, they got torched. The only blitz that worked was the very last play of the game that the Chiefs had on offense, which was the holding call on James Bradbury. That was it. That was the only like play that really worked getting at Patrick Mahomes. Another thing is too, and I hate to bring this up, and I might be a broken record here, but the field was a huge problem in the game. Like the field, it goes under discussed. I'm sorry. The field destroyed the Eagles pass rush. Like the amount of guys I saw on the ground, on the turf, on that rewatch was insane. I didn't remember it being like that. The field is not going to be like that this year. So
It's grass.
Yeah. So like we can finally get to see the Eagles pass rush kind of transition in and play well enough. So let's just do Eagles defense versus Chiefs offense while we're on this discussion here. You brought up how the Eagles defense or Chiefs defense is keeping them in games. You're right. The Chiefs defense is third in defensive DVOA right now. The offense is sixth in offensive DVOA. So no one expected that to come from a Patrick Mahomes led team. So the Chiefs offense has actually been not that good this year. Especially in the running game. They're 24th in EPA per rush. That is the biggest difference from the Super Bowl to the Chiefs team right now, because the Chiefs defense Chiefs offense did whatever they wanted in the running game against Eagles defense in that Super Bowl. They were efficient. They were opening up holes. Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox got fucking destroyed in that game. Thomas. I don't know if you remember that, but holy shit, they had a really bad game in the run game. Now Jordan Davis also didn't have a good game at all as well. That kind of caught me, just like he looked hampered in that game. But the Chiefs running attack isn't there right now. So that is like the biggest win for the Eagles, like just on the defense side of the ball, is that they shouldn't have to worry about how good the Chiefs run game is. But they're going to attack the middle of the field. Like that's what we know they're going to do.
Yeah, and this game is a chance for the Eagles D line to show that Super Bowl was just a matter of field conditions. That if they had actually been playing on a better field, they would be able to get to Patrick Mahomes. And if they can sack him a bunch, they can get pressure on him this game, we'll probably be feeling a lot better of what happened in that Super Bowl, to be honest. Even though it was a Super Bowl loss and you can never go back with that. If the Eagles defense can somehow get out here and handily pressure Patrick Mahomes, they don't have the skill players to cope with that. If they can hit their groove in that and they can stop the run, like we know the Eagles defense can, like Jordan Davis is playing phenomenal. You just highlighted Morrow and Cunningham and how well they were playing against the run as well. If they can minimize the Chiefs to basically just passing offense only, I know that's what they're good at. But if you can get after Patrick Mahomes, then I think that's your best chance of getting to them in a game like this. And for the Eagles defense, show that you're better than, because right now they're below average defense in terms of EPA per play. Like they're not a very good defense.
The Eagles defense is 19th in DVOA right now, so mediocre.
In DVOA and an EPA. So
yeah.
They're all agreeing on that, and that is despite having a D line that is causing a ton of pressure, and has one of the highest pass rush win rates among all defensive lines in the league. They're still finding a way to fuck up, and we know exactly why. We just talked about it with the secondary.
Yeah, that's been the Achilles heel. It's like if we can't get pressure, then there's no back end coverage that's going to save you. Um, the Chiefs defensive or offensive tackles can be had. So if you're kind of thinking how can the Eagles get pressure compared to the Super Bowl? Well, one, the field is not that good, and two, the Chiefs offensive tackles aren't as good as they were last year. So if you just take a look at just some PFF stats, so Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor have both given up a ton of pressures. Jawan Taylor's given up at least 2 pressures in every single game this season, except for one. He's a guy that you can definitely attack. And Donovan Smith, 29 pressures total for Jawan Taylor, 22 total for Donovan Smith. They also been penalized a lot. They've combined for 13 penalties. So, like, if you're Josh Sweat,
watch that go down.
Yeah, and I think like this may be like too cliche and just maybe too like I'm reading into this too much, but I'm assuming Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick have had this game circled on the calendar. I'm assuming every Eagles player has, but like especially this one because they weren't able to grip the field. So like they finally get a chance to get revenge, I guess.
49ers game and Chiefs game, I think, are the biggest ones for Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick, especially I think Hassan Reddick.
How would you stop Travis Kelce? That is going to be this offense. If you can't stop Travis Kelce, the Chiefs are going to win. How would you do it?
Bracket coverage with a linebacker and a safety, because he's gonna line up inside. So I would want to have my safety lineup outside shaded of him, so he can take away the deep stuff that might be coming, and I want to have my linebacker lined up inside shaded. And then I would challenge Travis Kelce to go outside of the hashes. Take away anything inside with the linebackers, and if he wants to go on a corner or anything deeper than that, you got your safety matched up on him. And I want that to be Kevin Byard. I don't want to have Byard lined up in man coverage on Travis Kelce and then try to play him man-man because he's going to lose. I want to have 2 easy tasks for 2 players and how to stop him. And then I would man up and play everyone else basically. Basically wanted to have zone coverage in behind it, then rely on Bradbury and Slay, and hopefully Justin Evans in this game, or maybe Roby, to be able to play man on these Chiefs wide receivers.
What about James Bradbury on Travis Kelce?
I think it's a losing strategy to have one guy track around with Travis Kelce. I'd much rather have 2 easy tasks for players. So because if you're just saying you go cover Travis, he's going to lose likely. I think that's a losing formula for a defensive coordinator. I think it's easier if you give 2 guys clear instructions of how they should play Travis Kelce together. I think that's going to make it a whole lot easier. And it's easier to have that on a guy like Travis Kelce than a guy like Tyreek Hill because Travis is going to be lining up inside. So it's going to be easier for the linebackers to have a chance of contributing to that, especially like you don't have to have a corner and a safety taken out of a play to cover him. You can have one of your linebackers who are not your most key guys in coverage, and you have a safety to back that up. Mm-hmm. And
I feel like he's the body type to do so, but you're right. Like, I don't know if I would do him one-on-one, but like, what if James Bradbury basically takes the slot corner role on third downs against, or not like, and goes inside on third downs and passing situations and
third downs and passing situations, that makes sense. Yeah.
And then have a safety bracket over top. So like, I'm curious to see if that's what they do. Cause just matchup wise, like if you just look at the player to player, like who would be the best fit, it's James Bradbury. And, you brought up the Chiefs wide receivers. So just from an injury report on their side. So all the Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, and Richie James all practice fully. I don't know what Richie James really brings to you, but Justin Watson and Kadarius Toney are the big ones. Watson that hasn't played the last couple of weeks. He's kind of their deep threat. But like overall, the Chiefs wide receivers don't really threaten you at all. It's Travis Kelce. Like Travis Kelce has 72 targets on this offense. The next guy is Rashee Rice with 41. And it's spread out a lot. Like they don't know who they like out of their wide receivers group, like even today. So as long as you can just take Travis Kelce away, there's no run game. I'm starting to like talk myself into that the Eagles defense is going to do a nice job this game.
I mean, it's kind of the what is it outside of what Juju Smith-Schuster? This is the same wide receiver group than they had
Yeah,
last
but
year.
Juju was so big for the Chiefs last year. That's what people forget. He had like 900 and plus yards. He was great in the Super Bowl. He made key catches. Like that Juju loss is very underrated for the Chiefs this year. Like they never replaced that 950 yards production. I know like Juju isn't the best player, but last year on the Chiefs offense, he was very efficient and he was very helpful, and they have not done a good job of replacing him.
Yeah, I just can't see that it's just that it's only Juju Smith-Schuster who is
I'm not saying it was, but like his product, like that was 900 yards
no,
lost.
but that
Yeah,
production is a result of their offense in general schematically not working right now. At
but
the
like
same extent as they were last year.
yeah, but like they don't have an easy button guy. Like I guess Rasheed Rice is kind of that
Juju
easy button
Smith-Schuster
dude.
is not an easy button
He was
guy.
last year, Thomas. He was
He,
like
his
that's what people
numbers
say he
his
was
numbers
last year. I
indicate that
promise
he was
you.
better, but just look at Juju as a player
Yeah,
and
but right
tell me
now
that
he
he was
sucks
the
because
difference
he's
between the
coming off
Chiefs
a knee
offense
injuries,
having
and the New England Patriots offense is a fucking mess. But Juju was good last year, and people don't remember it. And I'm the only one saying it. It's crazy that people forget how good he was for the Chiefs. Like that is a huge reason why their offense is stalling right now. They don't have a replacement for him.
or
But like again,
maybe
it's not. I'm
it's the
telling you,
Patrick Mahomes downfall.
that is
Andy Reid is getting old. I don't know.
you're might like another one more thing before we move on to the Eagles offense versus Chiefs defense. The Miami Dolphins game, I would look heavily at the second half of that game. The Dolphins defense kicked fucking ass in that game. Like I went back and watched some of like the all 22 just in the second half of it. The front seven of Miami literally bullied the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs offense. They need to kind of follow some similar stuff that they did. They did a very good job of the front seven of not like focusing on the motion that the Chiefs run. Like they were just straight up eyes kept on Patrick Mahomes. Like I think there's a lot of teaching tape, and I'm like Sean Desai's obviously doing that, but really curious to see if they kind of like look back on that game and then say like, how did the Dolphins do such a good job against the Chiefs
And
offense?
also
So
just a measuring stick game for Jalen Carter, who's going up against Trey Smith and Joe Tooney. Like
yeah.
Really, really good guys that he's going
Trey Smith
going up against.
struggled last week against the Dolphins. Like he had that was probably
He did
arguably
against
his
the
worst game.
Dolphins, yeah. But other
Yeah,
than that, he's been
he's
pretty
been
good this
great.
year.
Yeah, Joe Thuney and Trey Smith are awesome.
And Creed Humphrey, they have an elite interior offensive line,
Yeah.
so it'll be good to see Jalen Carter go up against that. I think Jalen Carter did okay against the Cowboys as well. I mean, and other than that, he's been downright dominant in every other game that he's played. So yeah, this is going to be a good measuring game for Jalen, definitely.
Okay, Eagles offense versus Chiefs defense. So one of my kind of a big takeaway from the Super Bowl is the Chiefs played a ton of man coverage in that game, Thomas, for some reason. And the Eagles fucking torched it. So on single high man coverage, Jalen Hurts was 14 to 17 for 162 yards, 0.71 EPA against man coverage, single high man coverage in that game. That is absurd. That's the Chiefs aren't going to do that this year, and they actually haven't. The Chiefs have been they don't have like a single coverage that the Chiefs or Steve Spagnuolo's story doesn't run like a specific coverage, and he's not like Gus Bradley where we just run cover three. Like it's they do everything, and for some reason in the Super Bowl they thought that man coverage was the best possible way to beat them, and the Eagles' offensive skill players just beat the guys in front of them. Dallas Goedert was huge. AJ Brown was getting open man coverage. Devonta Smith was so good in the Super Bowl. He was getting open on man coverage. So there was a lot of just like athlete versus athlete in the Super Bowl, which is kind of cool. And the Eagles did a lot of empty looks to counteract that. The empty formation in the Super Bowl was awesome. They also did a lot of quarterback runs against man coverage because the quarterback's running back, right? They're not focused on the quarterback. So there was a lot of man beaters that the Eagles were able to click that I don't think they're going to be able to do in this football game.
Yeah, and the Chiefs defense have just been playing overall better against the pass this year. So this is a game where you really hope the return of Cam Jerkins, and you really hope that Jontre Swift can get going and that their rushing offense can really get going. That doesn't mean you run Jalen Hurts. You try to keep him healthy for the rest of the season here. That not try to re-aggravate anything, but you'd like to see the running back actually get going and that the offensive line would start to play a little bit better because it hasn't been pretty for what we know as the best offensive line in football for the last couple of weeks here. They've been good in pass protection against the Cowboys. They did suffer a little bit in that, but they also like Tyler Seen's first game, all this and that. But yeah, you'd like the Eagles' rushing attack to kind of get going here against the Chiefs, because that is the way the teams have been beating them this year.
Yep, and the numbers back it up. The Chiefs are 31st in EPA per rush on defense, 24th in success rate. So it's not like just the big runs are blowing them out. They can't consistently stop the run. So This is definitely a game where you want to see the Eagles rushing attack kind of get going. And I know I'm kind of entertaining a lot back to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, Eagles fans. Like, it's not a fun game to go back to, but that's the last time they played the Chiefs. So that's where I'm going to get a lot of data from. Eagles running backs were not good in that game at all. And the Eagles offensive line wasn't good, Thomas, when I went back and watched it. I thought the Chiefs defensive line got the Eagles number. Like, I'm assuming Jeff Steltman was sick to his stomach watching that Eagles offensive line game.
Which is worrying considering the field conditions were the same for them.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, the Eagles offensive line can't blame it. Blame the field conditions on that one. So yeah, the run game has to be attacked. The Chiefs defense has some good players in the secondary. Trent McDuffie is turning into a star. He's better than he was last year. L'Jarius Sneed's also a good player. He does get penalized a lot, so I'd maybe look to see if you can put AJ Brown, L'Jarius Sneed, try to keep him away from Trent McDuffie. McDuffie's a smaller guy anyways, so I'm not worried the Eagles wide receivers at all against those guys, but I do think the Chiefs just secondary players are better than last year. But the big one, the Chiefs don't have Nick Bolton, and he was awesome in the Super Bowl. Like, he had the fumble recovery, of course. He was all over the field in that football game. So he's not playing. He's currently injured. So that's kind of the big difference from the Eagles or the Chiefs defense to now. I don't think I have anything else. Like, it's pretty straightforward. The Eagles are going to do what they do. The Chiefs are going to do what they do. Like, there's not really a lot of schematic X's and O's here on the Eagles offense versus Chiefs defense.
Agree.
All right. An hour and a minute in. Wow, we fucking went a long time today. And we still have one more thing to do. We got to predict who's going to win this football game. You want to go first?
31-28 Chiefs.
We didn't do a preview episode for the Cowboys game. If we did, I predicted the Cowboys were going to beat the Eagles on the Weekend Wager show. So I got that game wrong.
So did I.
I would have probably predicted I would have predicted the Eagles win over the Dolphins. I think
I didn't. So I'm 0 for 2. Hopefully I can go 0 for 3 now. Taylor Swift.
I'm torn here because I really do think I'm actually in disagreement with you about the score of the game. I think it's going to be lower scoring. I don't know if the offense is going to be exploded. I just brought up I think the Chiefs offense isn't going to be as good. I don't think the Eagles offense is going to be able to push the easy buttons like they did in the Super Bowl. I'm going to go lower scoring here. I'm going to take the Eagles to win. I'm going to go Eagles 24, Kansas City 21. I think Jake Elliott drills a 40-plus yard field goal to win it. I think the Eagles get their revenge in this one. And I'm all on board, baby. I'm back. Like, I keep going back to the fact that Jalen Hurts is 25-2 in his last 27 starts. Every single time I pick the Eagles to lose a game, Jalen Hurts just exceeds expectations. And I think he's going to do it again. He's got this game circled on that calendar, baby, for a very fucking long time. Jalen Hurts is going to get his revenge in this game. I'm expecting another good game from him. Eagles defense is going to rebound. Eagles by 3.
Love it.
All right. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, I think we kind of hit it. I got some frustration off of the whole Swift thing. I'm satisfied.
All right, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Make sure to check our sponsors, BetterHelp, Manscaped, and Sweat Taylor. Black Friday is coming up. Make sure to check out for deals there. If you're shopping for anyone, Manscaped and Sweat Taylor, where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather buy stuff? Make sure to check those 2 sponsors out. And we will talk to you later.